Welcome to Opinions for Rust Belt and Wall Street. Sounds strange, I know. We're only supposed to support one side. If you're old enough to remember, that's only been in the last 10 years or so. It's not an American tradition. Now, who am I? Not an expert on anything political. I'm a person with an opinion. If that isn't the basis of our nation, then what is? Now, I know that sounds quaint, and I know that some of you won't want to hear that. But I'll ask you to join me to explore things that are making us all crazy on both sides of the partisan divide. One thing I'll let you know right off the bat. I'm not particularly partisan. There's a reason for that. Despite what most people think lately, this country was not founded on party or even political loyalty. It was founded on, for the first time in history, an obsession with personal freedoms and individual rights. An amazing idea after thousands of years of mindless tyranny. Personal rights for the rich, those for the poor, those for all religions. For the Founding Fathers, this was a glorious quest. The people who founded your country did not believe in taking out their enemies. Some of you don't believe that. That means you've forgotten the truth, or at least you like history to be a little different. Everyone is protected under the Constitution, short of criminals, and even they have some rights. Sounds silly or quaint? Here's my opinion. Being an American is a responsibility and not a privilege. Being born here doesn't make you an American in the constitutional sense of the word. It doesn't meet the high bar of the people who created this country. Only a few weeks ago, we were in the midst of a government shutdown, the longest in our history. If we follow the trend that the news media is telling us is the trend of the day, most of us are picking sides. It's the Dems. It's the Republicans. From my point of view, we might be giving both sides a pass on doing their jobs. Is it their job to mess with people's lives in an attempt to make gains for their party? No, I'm not just talking about one party. The real issue is that we should be able to expect both parties to do what they were hired to do. Who am I to say what the job of the government is? Well, it comes from the Founding Fathers of our nation. It's called the United States Constitution. And there are many Republicans and Dems that don't fit the profile of American legislators. Do you think that's boring compared to the partisan brawl that has taken the place of democracy in this country? Is the fight more important to you? The adrenaline that you feel when you think you can stick it to your enemy, make them pay, make them listen to you? Well, it's boring only if you think America and its values are boring. Yes, the same America you live in. History does not lie. What's important to you? Do you see the Constitution as an old document fit for college professors sitting in dusty libraries? And that the reality of life is that you need to beat the crap out of the other side and get what you want, and there is no alternative? If you believe in this country, think again. The Constitution is more important than immigration policies, single-payer versus insurance-based health care, shutdowns, and a whole list of other partisan issues. But maybe you don't believe that. Here's the point. The Constitution was designed to deal with the worst effects of our political system, including all of what's happening now, including the shutdown chicken game between both sides of the aisle. What that means is the Founding Fathers felt that the anger, the division, the power grabs, the hate does not have any place in the government of a democratic republic. Understandable, since they had just thrown out an angry, oppressive British government, and they didn't want any repeats. Yes, these things that are happening in our country today are bad. And that's true, believe it or not, even if your side happens to win the partisan mambo this round. Because as I'm sure you found out, you won't win the next round. Why would anyone want to defend a system like that? A system that leads to governments that are like the ones in Venezuela or North Korea. What we've forgotten is that the abuse and neglect by government, all the things that has made everyone sick of government in the last 20 years or so, were actively and intelligently designed out of the government by the Founding Fathers. That's in the Constitution. And isn't that what we all want? Our freedoms, our protection of all our citizens, our real democracy has been the basis of our claim that our country is superior to others. Not how tough we are or how angry we are. It helped fuel the patriotism that drove both world wars and the effort to maintain our freedom during the Cold War. How many times have you heard that our veterans sacrificed so much that we could live free? Believe it or not, that's not just lip service. It's based on an assumption that we all know what the Founding Fathers had in mind for us. That the Constitution and the freedoms it affords created the land of the free and the home of the brave. Now let me introduce you to James Madison. He's often referred to as the father of the Constitution. My point in introducing him is that he did not spend an incredible amount of time, pain, and effort to feather his own nest or blast his opponents out of the water as considered cool these days. He did do one thing: create and defend a system of government that protected as many people as possible. Not just rich people, not just working class people, and while he certainly was not out to save the rights of women or slaves, he wanted to get as much justice as he could. This is what America was founded on. Let's lay it on the table. Madison fought against factions. What's a faction? A group of people with the same set of critical interests. Sound familiar? And I mean any group that bands together to protect what it considers its interests. That's what divides us. That could be businessmen who want to pass laws that limit government regulation, and it could be Joe Public, who wants a piece of the pie and is sick of being passed over by people in power and wants term limits for congressmen. The problem with either of these groups is that they will destroy each other, and that's the end of the republic. That's it. Fairness at all costs. Madison said, "The violence of factions is the mortal disease of popular governments." As the father of our Constitution, do you notice the difference between what we do now and what he fought for? There will be more details later on in later videos. What I'd like to ask you now is to consider why Madison and the big players in the formation of our Union spent all their time establishing a just government that existed to protect as many people as possible. As important a question is why these same men did not do what we do today: use the power they all held to make the powerful more powerful, and why they didn't defend factions, even those they were a part of, as we do today. I will repeat myself. The people who you consider the fathers of your country put all of their energy into creating a just nation that does not support the powerful or ordinary citizens in their ability to screw each other over. They just lived for decades under a strong man like King George, and they'd had enough of kicking ass. This was the basis on which people like Madison and Thomas Jefferson formed our nation. And if your politics doesn't agree with Madison, then why is that? Have you found something new to replace the foundation of the Constitution of America? Are the rights of men important to you? It was to James Madison, because it defends people just like you, whoever you are. And it has been important to centuries of Americans. And if someday the power players and the people prone to anger destroy the Constitution, there will be no more America. And all those that have died for these freedoms and protections will have died in vain. It will be the end of America. Do you want that? Thank you for listening.